Hello, July.
Hello, Ian. How are you?
All right. And hello, Daniel.
Hello.
Again.
Yep. Hello
Hello,
again.
he's back.
Again.
We have
It's
another trio.
I know. It's good, isn't it? Are we gonna have you more here, Daniel, or are you going back to school next week?
Oh, well, I am going back to school next week, but depends what time we can do the recording.
I guess, do you know your schedule yet or not?
Well, I'm at school. Well, unless you want to do it at 6 o'clock in the morning, it's pretty much up until 3 o'clock until school ends is out of
Oh,
the picture.
okay.
So
That's
Oh,
it.
okay.
yeah.
I'm sure we'll
Yeah.
come to an arrangement if you want to continue to be a part of it, because I think the topics that you are bringing on board are getting a lot of interest anyway, from what I can see. So that's good.
Very good.
Yes.
So, we're talking about the truth today, are we? Something like that.
Oh, the truth. What sort of truth are you talking about?
What, my truth
Which
or your
truth?
truth?
Yeah,
Oh, here we
exactly.
go.
Yours or mine, right?
Yes. Your place or mine. Yeah.
Yeah,
Goodness.
goodness. Yes, Daniel, what's your take on this?
Well, I think some people have different truths to others.
Okay.
I think uh, people think the truth is objective, and I suppose for certain things it can be.
Mm.
But I think in certain regards it shouldn't be, and I think the truth is objective in for some subjects. And I think sometimes it's hard to understand that, I guess.
It is. We're already getting ourselves in a tangle, objective, subject, and stuff like that.
Yeah. What does that mean?
What does that even mean? Oh my God. What is the meaning of life? We are going to go deeper into that.
Mm.
But I know that, Daniel, this is something that we discussed at the end of our very first time together a couple of weeks ago. And this was some discussion we had offline. And you wanted to bring this up today to the attention of our listeners. And I think it's a great idea. So, do you have any thoughts on this to start with, what we're going to talk about today?
Well, yeah, I think it's one of the key things is, I suppose, what information do you have and where are you getting it from, and
Mm-hmm.
who's supplying it to you and why are they supplying it to you?
Okay.
So if you're getting, say for example, if a farmer who
Mm-hmm.
has massive agriculture in wheat, starts supplying you cereal and telling you that, oh, cereal, it'll change your life, it'll improve your eyesight, your bones will get stronger, and telling you all these things. Well,
Yeah.
are they telling it to you because they want your life to improve, or are they telling it to you just because they want you to buy their cereal?
Oh, interesting. Well, there is two dimensions to that, of
Mm.
course. There, the fact that they are producers of wheat and they do want to sell their stuff. Exactly right. That's what they want to sell you.
Yeah.
But of course, the reason behind what they want to sell you is also could be that they do want to improve your life.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the fact that cereal or certain proteins in wheat or whatever it might be may be useful for your body or metabolism without getting into all sorts of nutritional aspects of things. Um, that is a fact. That's a scientifically proven fact, and people can indeed improve their lives. And if the farmer is saying that and delivering that promise, here's the thing: if you're saying something and then delivering the promise in
Yes.
an integral way, in a way that is serving others, then there's no reason why
Yeah,
you should
absolutely.
not do that.
Yeah.
You know, um, I'm selling my coaching program. I'm telling people this is going to improve your life when you apply the principles that I give you, that I live by myself. And if people apply, they do see the difference.
Yeah. I think
And then
that's very important.
of course, when that is a benefit to me because I can feed my family by doing that,
Yeah.
I serve my life's purpose because this is the kind of work that really lights me up and I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
But also it helps the people. Not only it helps just one person that I'm coaching, but it helps their family. It helps the children of that person, and the children then go and talk to their friends, and then it's just kind of a big ripple effect of
Yeah.
this, the work that we are doing. The farmer can be exactly the same. by giving people nutritious stuff as opposed to extremely processed and whatever food, then maybe it is helping some people, you know,
Yeah.
and the ripple effect of that can indeed be great.
Yeah, I think that's probably why I chose wheat, to be fair, because I think personally, I think a lot of people would be better off if they cut that out of their diet. I mean, we don't want to turn this into a nutrition podcast, but
No.
I'm trying to actually start a carnivore diet at the moment. So I'm just
Okay.
eating meat and drinking water, and that's it.
Okay.
Because I've
How's
seen a
that
lot
working
of
out for you?
well, it's difficult because obviously
Expensive.
I'm still I'm still living with my parents, so
Right.
obviously I have to cater to their need. We can't I don't want to force them into it or anything. So we're eating differently. But yeah, I think it's going quite well. I had some eggs and bacon this morning for breakfast. So
Okay.
yeah. But no, I think for the yeah, I think you're right. There's some people who are selling you it, and the deeper thing behind it is they are selling you something which will improve your life. Like your coaching. But I think equally you've got to watch out for those who aren't.
The thing is, here it is. We always have a choice. People, I want to also just address something. Just because people are selling you something, one because doesn't mean that they are conning you.
Oh yes, yeah.
They can be, and there's lots of those people around here, around everywhere. But it means that they are providing a service. If you think about it, we buy stuff every single day, every single second, somebody's buying something somewhere. So people feel, oh, we're sold to something. You're not sold to anything. You're just buying all day long. And people are selling you stuff already. If you just, go into Google, do something, next minute you're on Facebook, it's ads in front of you like anything. And there is that aspect of the technology that we can't deny, and it is what it is. And you can also stop that if you wanted to, but that doesn't mean the selling is bad. Selling is a service. Selling can be is selling a transformation for someone. If that someone needs that transformation, then it is the best thing that can happen to them.
Yeah.
Right. So, but we always have a choice. We can choose not to fall into the trap of people trying to con us. And that requires something else. And that's, I think, what you really wanted to talk about today, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah,
for me, I'm thinking about walk the talk.
That's right.
Do what you say. Be true to yourself, and that's truth. Yeah. Sorry, Daniel was going to say something there.
Oh no, I was just going to ask Chulai, because I know you mentioned before in one of the previous episodes that you stopped watching. Well, I don't know if you stopped watching TV as a whole, but you said specifically you stopped watching the news. I thought it was very interesting. So I'd like to ask you why and what's specifically what's changed. How has your mindset changed about this?
Okay, that's interesting. So in around the end of 2015, so it's almost coming up to 10 years now, but not quite. Wow. I came across this online coach, and we kind of got into some of the exercises that he was giving, and two online coaches, in fact. One of them is one of my greatest mentors, and I really follow everything. I bought his program, and he's the reason why I'm here talking to you right now, because I managed to build the business because of the things that he taught me. And this other guy who was also given great examples of how certain eras of times where people were doing certain things, and then times have changed and people started other things, but it was because they were buying into this belief system or buying into certain things, and that's why they were doing. But the trouble with that is that we feel like we don't have a choice. And the reason why I stopped watching the news is just basically I started this personal development journey, started to become more self-aware, and search for that purpose like you were doing a few weeks ago or months ago, that you started yourself at your age and in your life stage. Mine had started 2010, something like that, and I had done some searching, some trainings, and some helping with people, and I realized that we used to watch the news we used to stay up till 10. Used to still up, don't worry. I wish I could go to bed at 10, but I don't. And watch the news and then turn the TV off about 10:30 and go to bed. And it's just like, how is this helping? But as I started to go into my personal development journey, the more I listened to the news, the more depressed I got.
Yeah.
And I decided, well, you know what? I'm not going to watch the news anymore, because how is this helping me? And I started to see the effects of the news people around me. And like before COVID started, just before, a few weeks before the lockdowns had come, I was still at work at the time. And people were talking about buying lots of toilet paper and all this sort of, all because what they read in the paper or what they see in the news. And because of this, there's a whole craze of people buying toilet paper. They didn't just come about. It just because somebody started saying it, and that's it. Occasionally we catch the start of the news just by accident. There's going to be a big fuel crisis in the UK. What happens next? You see the queues at Tesco at the petrol station.
Yeah.
So it may or may not be true. There may be some truth behind it. The event itself may be taking place or may be about to take place, but they put it in such a way that literally just puts your mind, it shuts down your analytical mind, your thinking brain, and it gets you into this emotional state. Oh my God, what if we run out of fuel? What if I can't go to work? What if I can't take my children to school? What if? All of a sudden you are acting with fear.
Yeah.
And this can apply to anything: war in Ukraine, shortages of stuff. Anything is happening because we are acting as a mass, people just acting upon something someone said, which may or may not be true, but we took it as true. We didn't even question because it's in BBC News, it's somewhere, and that's it. We don't question it. We don't ask ourselves any questions. How does this affect me? How can I be resourceful and not be part of this?
So, Chulai, it sounds, just to jump in there, that you, as your sort of personal awareness was increasing and you were sort of, going on your journey, you started to think, hang on, perhaps all this stuff around me might not be as true as perhaps I've believed it in the past, or at least you're questioning rather than just taking it at face value, taking it for as absolute truth. You're actually thinking, well, this might not be right. And actually, I don't want to fill my mind with this stuff because it's giving me the wrong response. And
exactly, that is beautifully put. And thank you for bringing that in. Basically, both me and my husband, we decided to guard what we put in our minds. Daniel, you said that when you started to do your physical development, it also started to affect your mental development, and you started to notice and pay attention to not just what you're putting in your body, but starting to put in your mind as well. So this is exactly for that reason, Ian, that we've decided to be more selective of who we surround ourselves with, what we put in our minds, and how we basically what thoughts we can hold at any single moment. Because there's a really great Facebook Live that I did a few years ago in 2020 when I was doing them every week, is that we can change our emotional state in an instant.
Yeah.
And if I can, for example, get you to close your eyes and start thinking about the best day of your life and think about all the great things that you've had, the people you were surrounded by, and what was the weather like. Remember the smells, remember the great things. You're going to start to feel already, happy and full of joy, and relive the moment. But then I snap my fingers and you start to think about the worst day of your life. The feeling in your gut or just in your heart. What was it like? Who were you surrounded by? The dark clouds and just the sadness and all of that. Just think about it, sit in it, right? So when we do this 2 exercises side by side, you can change your emotional state simply by focusing on a different thought. And if you continuously focusing on the thoughts that create the sadness, the fear, the reactions that you may or may not want to be giving to the world, what's going to happen? You're going to be in that state all the time.
Yeah, I think that's just made me think of something really quite good that I might be able to apply to myself. I'm not sure if it'll work. I'll have to give it a go and tell you if it did next time. But you know, with tackling homework, I'm thinking actually, you know, I say to myself, right, maybe after this podcast, I'm going to tackle these knowledge organized. I'm going to get it done. And as I'm getting to the end of the podcast, I'm thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to have to do this work soon. Oh, it's pending, it's coming. And then I just end up not doing it. But I think that's because I'm thinking, the thoughts that I'm putting in my head are, I'm thinking of the work, I'm thinking of how I don't enjoy it, and I'm thinking of how dull it's going to be. If I change my thoughts and think, right, by doing this work, right, now start thinking of the smile that's going to be on the teacher's face when they see that I've actually done everything I've meant to do in the holidays. What's going to be the smile on my face when I don't get 700 detentions because I've missed every piece of work? You know, if I think of that, I'll think, oh yes, this is great. Let's go and do it. So I think, you know, maybe that's something that people can apply. If you're not going to enjoy something, think of the result rather than the thing.
Exactly. And this is one of the things that James Clear in the book that called Atomic Habits, he mentions, you know, if there is something you're dreading but you still need to do every day, homework would be a great example of this. Do that activity before you do something you enjoy. It may be going to the gym, or it may be going out with your friends and playing a game or whatever. And give yourself the task of, I won't be playing that game, or I can't play that game until I finish this piece of homework. And when you do, you're going to want to finish it really quickly because you want to get to the end and go and play that game in the end.
Now that does sound very familiar to me, actually, how I used to try and do things. Let's get this homework done, and then once I'm finished, you know, I'll be there. And it's that looking ahead to something good at the end.
Yes.
I've actually done
something
that.
to look
That's
forward to.
for
People
me.
do that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, Daniel, you were right. You're thinking about how dull it's going to be, how boring, how difficult. Oh, I can't do this. I can't be bothered with this or whatever. But as we said many times in the podcast before, you can choose different words. And you could say, I know I don't like doing homework, but actually it's easy. I can do it easily. I can get this done. The sooner I do it, the sooner I can go and do something else that I really like doing. Say these words to yourself instead. That in itself is going to bring different thoughts. And this is basically, your brain is a muscle. You're going to have to keep doing that in order to train yourself. So by not putting, for example, by not listening to the news and the dreadful point of view that brings with it, and the sadness and the fear and whatever, we basically don't bring our state of mind into that sadness and fear thoughts ever.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's now used to looking for better things, positive things, happier things. And we are always in that state of happiness, even when things get difficult, and they do get difficult sometimes. We look for how else can we resolve this.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I had a very important call, and before that, I wasn't feeling great, and I was in this state of like, you know, rock on a hard place. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. There's no agenda, whatever. But it was clear to me what I really needed to say, and because of this unknown, what was it going to be like? My brain tried to take me into that state of fear and state of unsure of myself, whatever. So I did just a very small exercise of visualization where I thought about this great moment at the end of the call. Everything is great. I'm smiling, they're smiling, and we're just having this great time. And I'm literally just jumping up and down with joy and telling my husband how it's all gone and whatever. And that's exactly what happened in the call. I not only managed to change my state of mind, but actually relived that in the call. And it was a great call. And it wasn't anywhere near as hard as I thought it was going to be, because your brain starts to take you to that state of unhelpfulness all the time.
Yeah.
So it's your job, by being aware, to bring yourself back up again. But you can't do that if you continue to fill your brain with unhelpful ideas, unhelpful, fearful thoughts, and continue to focus on them.
Yeah. I'd maybe just mention, be careful about, I know my dad's mentioned that, get the stuff that you don't want to do out the way, and then you can look forward to other things like playing a game. Well, he suggested that to me before, and it hasn't really worked. Because I think the goal, when you tell, well, for example, in the holidays, if my parents are out and I've got lots of work to do, there's no one forcing me to do the work. So I can tell myself, oh, I could get this work done and then enjoy the game. But actually, who's going to stop me if I just go on the game right now? So I think maybe if you want to put a goal, if you want to put enjoyment after the thing that you've got to do, make that enjoyment only possible if you've done the thing.
Yeah, well, that's the idea.
Make them related.
Yeah, they call it like the habit stacking, and you have to you can do the two things together, or do one after the other, but you can't do that thing until you've done this other. And you know what, your dad is not going to always be there to give you a kick, as it were. So it is your responsibility. Homework is your responsibility. If you fail it, it's your responsibility. It's not your dad's life. He can only do his best to provide for you and show you the guidance. But as you're almost becoming an adult now, it's becoming your responsibility. You can choose to fail. You can choose to not do your homework and carry on being that, sort of person, if you like, not sort of person who is a victim and doesn't take responsibility, doesn't face hard things. Or you can choose to be a different person and just, you know what, I can do this. I know it's hard and it's not very easy. And it's not really, I know it's probably hard because I don't want to do it. But right now, this is what I've got to do. And it's going to pass. It's not going to be forever. Sometimes we have to do things that we don't like to do. I hate building websites, but I built my whole website myself. I was telling myself the story of, oh, I'm not good at tech, but I built my whole landing pages and email systems, everything all by myself before I got my VA, whatever, to help me with all of that. And because I've got a website system that enables me to do that, it's so intuitive, so sweet, so easy. But if I continue to tell myself that story, I wouldn't be here. And if I didn't do the hard graft, then I wouldn't be here right now. The same with another story is that I used to tell myself I can't build relationships online. Well, I'm about to start an online business. How am I gonna? How is this story gonna serve me, right?
Yeah.
So I changed. Well, you know what? I can build relationships with people online and offline. This happened literally just before the lockdown, and now I build relationships online that just blows my mind. And I can read the energy of people just through the computer screen without even seeing their faces, just through their posts and then from their videos and whatever. You can build relationships. It's just whatever you tell yourself, your mind, you are the boss, if you like. Whatever you tell yourself, your mind is going to do it, because it doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. This is why the visualization techniques work really well, because you're imagining it, feeling the feelings and tasting it and smelling it as if it's already there. Yeah. Ian, have you got something to say?
Well, it's been great. It's been good for me to listen more than talk, really, today.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure the listeners will appreciate that as well. But yeah, I'm just thinking, we're talking about the topic today of the truth, and you've written the news out of your life because of the uncertainty about the truthfulness of it, and the good what the effect it's having on you and stuff like that. So that that's a real good thing. I think we were also thinking today about are people seeing us truly as who we are, or are we kind of putting on a mask and letting people see what we think we want them to see in us, or what we think they want to see in us, maybe. And that's a danger to fall into. And I think if we're happier, if we're our true selves, and we project ourselves truly, that's just a few thoughts from me,
Yeah.
really.
I think that is a big rabbit hole we can get into, and perhaps we'll
Yeah.
leave that as part 2 of this conversation for next
We'll
week.
do it. We'll
Because
do it next time. Yeah.
because there is a lot to dig deep in that, and I don't want to confuse the 2 subjects too much. But coming back to the original question, are you really seeing what people are, the truth, or what people want you to see? And either could be true, but your truth and somebody else's truth may be different. It's all based on the filters that you have in your head, and it's based on what you're filling your head with, basically. If you could, the same 2 people, the 2, people from 2 different lives can hear the same exact sentence, but will have a different reaction to it.
Yeah.
Because of their life experiences, because of their state of mind, because of their outlook in life, because of what their goals are, whatever it might be, then they will interpret the exact same information in a different way. And I put lots of posts out on social media. I have lots of people say to me, "Oh, you're so inspirational, so positive and whatever." And I had someone coming back to me and say, "Well, when you put this out there and people don't like it," it's like, "Well, people who? Well, what people?" And it looks fake and whatever. Well, maybe that's your interpretation. None of the things that I put there is fake. But if that's your interpretation, then it's fine. And then
See, I think that I'm going to throw something else. We're not going to deal with this today. We'll perhaps pick it up next week. But I always say there can only be one truth by definition. There can be many opinions about it. And to use your word, interpretations and understandings. It's based on filters and understanding, as you've accurately and well said just then. But it's like the old 6 and the 9. If you're looking at a 9 from this side, it's a 9. If you're looking from the other side, it's a 6. And
that's right.
You can have a good old argument about that. It's a 6. It's a 6. No, it's not. It's a 9. It's a 9. But it's just how you're seeing it and how you fit. It's only in reality one thing. It looks like a dead fish if you look at it from the side. It's, you could have a bit of fun with that illustration, but you know what I mean. It's so I think there is a truth, but we see it in different ways and interpret it in different ways. That's something to pick up next week.
It is. And before we finish off, Daniel, you might this will give you some food for thought. This whole COVID thing, right? In the very early days of COVID, we did turn on the news because we needed to be informed about the updates of what was going on in terms of, whether the schools are going to close, and we only watched it like twice, right? And even within that time that we watched it, we absolutely felt dreadful afterwards, literally full of dread inside. And we decided we're not watching this again. We know what we need to know. That's it. The rest is just noise. And you know what they were doing? Every single day, how many people died of COVID?
Yeah.
What is the death toll? Yes, there is no denying that people have died. There's no denying that it was a big pandemic, whatever. But how much of that was also slightly orchestrated?
I think COVID, I don't want to sound too much like a conspiracy theorist here, but it was, I would consider it a scam. I think
probably was.
I think the lockdowns shouldn't have happened. It sounds ridiculous. Well, what about all the vulnerable people? Well, I think it, it harmed society as a whole more from having the lockdowns. So many people lost their businesses, so many people lost their jobs. I think it would have been better if we, I think a lot of people made a lot of money from COVID. Unfortunately, and I think that drove it more than the concern for people's health.
But it also drew lots of people into mental health problems.
Oh yes,
and that wasn't just because they were stuck at home. Not only were they stuck at home, they were not being resourceful because all they did was get fed by information that was dreadful, filling them with fear and more fear and more fear and more fear. And there's no other way that they could get out of that. And luckily, Ian and I found a way to get out of it all and not get fed by that fear. And instead, we tried to help people to find the positive way to channel their energy into something better. And that's what I'm saying. We have been living in a bubble since God knows how long, and since the last 3-4 years, even more so, and make the whole, contact with the external world as minimal as possible, because, otherwise you're going to be driven by your external world. What will that mean is that when there's bad news, you're going to feel bad. When there is hurricane somewhere else, you're going to feel bad. It doesn't change the fact that hurricane is happening. It doesn't change the fact that whether you listen or not, it doesn't change any of the facts. But what it does change is your state of mind, and your state of mind is your responsibility, and it's more important to you than anyone else. And if you're surrounded by other people who especially rely on you being well, then it gets to be your choice what you fill your mind with.
Yeah. I think just to, I'm not sure how close we are to the end, or maybe we've overridden. I'm not sure.
We've overrun a bit, but who cares? We'll have to finish soon. But
yeah, if there's one takeaway I would recommend for people is, especially during COVID, TikTok just exploded and everyone started using it, and I think that caused quite a lot of problems. If there's one thing that you stop doing, I would recommend stop using TikTok. I think that would massively change your life. If you're using it every day, if you just uninstall it, delete your account, you're going to be so much better off.
Well, I've had so many people and some of my clients delete their Facebook and LinkedIn accounts just to stop checking. And, I found myself checking just for the sake of checking and whatever, and literally just separate myself physically from my phone in order to not do that, and find other activities to just be and not be attached to the technology or whatever, anything that's going to fill your mind with distraction. It's a great summary. Get rid of any distractions, get rid of anything that isn't serving you. And if you want to know whether it's serving you or not, just look at your external life. Just look at your state of mind, where you're at with it. If you're overwhelmed, if you're constantly in a state of fear and anxiety, then that's one of the reasons why, because you're living externally.
I think make your phone as boring as possible. Get rid of all the app icons. I don't know, desaturate the colors. Get an app launcher that makes your phone look boring and minimalistic. I think that would really help a lot of people, because it just sucks the enjoyment out of your phone. And I think that's a good idea. I think it was a week without my phone. I replaced my phone with a notepad, and it was so liberating. I felt like a completely different person. And then it all collapsed and went back after the week, because I just had to start using my phone again, whether it was checking emails for important stuff from school, or the time that I was employed by Currys, I had to check work emails, messages from friends. I couldn't get away from it. But the week that I did, man, it was so good. I can't explain how good it was.
Well, that's what we do. We don't not take our phones, but we put it on airplane and we don't look at it. Over the holidays, we went camping on the weekend, and that's what we do as well. And some of the places we go camping, there's no reception anyway, so we just basically turn it off and cut all ties from the external world. But you can do it habitually every day, even if it's a small part of your day, part of your daily routine, that is going to help your mental state. And if it's not serving you, if it's not helping you, if it's not making you feel any better, then why do it? I know there's the whole addictive side of this social media, whatever, but again, it's your choice, and it's your conscious ability to do something, basically. Or not.
Talking of aeroplanes, we're going to need to fly off the podcast now and fly back in again next week. But we can pick this stuff up. So if you're really into the conversation and you think this is, fascinating and helping, which we hope it is always, every week anyway, then we'll talk a bit more about this again next week. Yeah.
Yes, that's a great idea.
I'm just wondering when are we gonna? Because I know you said I think next week we're going to look at more of your suggestion of the original title that you came up with, but also when you plan on looking at the third eye, because I know that was a topic that you mentioned.
Oh yes,
quite
third
excited
eye
to get into.
Okay, we will get into that over the
There you
coming
go.
weeks. And what I also have done, and now let's do this as a final announcement.
Yes.
I opened up to my audience as send us some questions, what you would like us to answer on the podcast. And I've also already got a couple of questions to answer. I think maybe starting September or second week of September, we can start featuring some of those questions and have a discussion around that.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, great. So yes, we will include all of that. And yes, can't wait.
Okay, it gets more exciting as time goes on. Thank you, Chulai. Thank you, Daniel. We're going to have to leave it there for this week's episode.
Thank
And
you.
we'll join again next time. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.